Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the reason an avoidant broke up with you. I think this topic is a little bit misunderstood, and some of you guys are in a situation where you were in a long term relationship or whatever relationship, and an avoidant broke up with you, and it didn't feel like it made sense to you because maybe they're coming back, or they offered friendship, or there was a lot of love, and so it's not fitting. And so a lot of times it's because a lot of avoidance they deactivate when they feel too much emotion or when they feel triggered or whatever it is. And sometimes their knee jerk reaction is to break up with you. And there's a part of you that subconsciously knows that, or you know it and you're denying it because you're afraid to have hope. This video is not to give anybody false hope. I just want to give information because this is true. This is some stuff that I see, and so I want to share it. The first one actually is a more genuine reason that they broke up with you, although it might not come across that way initially. But some avoidance might feel these ways and it's bottled up throughout the relationship. And it's that they repeatedly said something that they felt was important, but you took it as them not caring or refusing to do so, okay? So maybe they said, can you make sure to pick up your clothes off the floor? Very basic one. And they tell you simple things like that. In their mind, they think it's simple, but you took it as criticizing, or you took it as them finding fault within you when it's not necessarily they're finding fault. They just, as I've talked about on this channel many times, a lot of avoidants just have control issues, right? A lot of them do. I used to have a lot of control issues with so many things. I mean, I didn't even I know some people are like this, but I like certain things in the dishwasher in a certain way because to me, there's more room. The water hits it a certain way. I want it arranged a certain way. Certain things in the top rack versus the bottom rack, how you put the utensils. And some people are like that, but I didn't like even when people would come over and they were being kind and saying, hey, let me do the dishwasher considering you cooked all day. Let me put the dishes away. I'm just like, no, let me do it. Like, I want to make sure it's perfect. Instead of thinking this is a kind gesture, let them do it. It's okay if the dishes are not perfect. Like, let them in, right? So avoidants don't realize that they're pushing you away because they're like, no, this is my space. I have to be in control. And so that's why they tell you, let's say, for example, pick up the clothes off the floor. You think, oh, they're criticizing, they're making fun of me, whatever it is. But what happens is it might be their own issue, or maybe you just throw clothes on the floor. I don't know what it is, right? But it's not what they're saying. It's the fact that as they continue to say it and say it and say it, you dismiss them, you brush them off, you make them feel like what they're saying is not valid. You could do what they say, but then maybe after a couple months, couple years, depending on your relationship, you might say, hey, I noticed that you're really particular about where I put clothes. Do you think that sometimes you could just lay off a little bit and just let me do what I need to do? Tell me if there's a limit, but I feel like it's a little overwhelming. You can have that conversation, but still hear them. It's important. The next one is about you feeling emotionally overwhelmed and them feeling like they have to regulate you for you. You might not even ask that, but they feel confused and they're not able to regulate themselves. So what ends up happening is you're having a lot of emotions about whatever it may be, and then they're having a lot of emotions in response to that, or not sure what to do. And now this feels like they might have to be responsible for fixing your emotions, or they feel like they have to process your emotions and their emotions, whatever it may be. And that has so much pressure for them that they actually feel burned out a little bit, okay? The next one is any form of communication breakdown to which both of you, it's not just your fault, feels like it ends up escalating quite quickly. Emotional, intense arguments, disagreements, and conversations can escalate quickly. They typically do. And what ends up happening is these small disagreements actually turn into these basically big, blown out, crash out type arguments, right? And then what happens is the avoidant individual wants to withdraw, but you might be pursuing them to come out of that withdrawal state. And so what ends up happening is they feel like, okay, I don't know what else to do. Let me just break up so I can get that space. And that is not a genuine breakup, because it's not that they don't love you or they feel like the relationship isn't good enough. It's that they're deactivating. They're afraid, I need space. I don't know what's going on. This keeps happening. Maybe I need to just be by myself, right? That's a really common reason. The next one is that they feel criticized or attacked. This is very common, and you might not even be doing this. Avoidants are very sensitive to criticism. Emotional reactions that you feel, genuinely you feel this way, they might perceive it as accusations. They may feel it as yelling, blaming, or they might feel like they're always doing something wrong and they can't make you happy. And so then in their mind, they think, okay, if I leave, my partner's gonna be happy. My partner will feel like they can get somebody they deserve. And in actuality, it's not like that at all. You're saying, I like you, which is why I expect something from you. In their mind, they're thinking, I'm not good enough. You don't like me. Let me free you of, how miserable I'm making you feel. And that's frustrating because then you don't feel like you can be heard and understood. But that is a common dynamic. And that's what happens a lot in these relationships. And so it's actually both individuals are not really communicating what they need in that particular moment because you're almost describing it your emotion instead of instruction format. And they're feeling intense and confused and falling to their emotions instead of their instruction format. Really, they could say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need a minute. You could say, I feel like you ignore what I say or how I come across, like my genuine characteristics or how I want to show you love. You don't let me. I feel like you're shutting me off. And I would like if next time I want to do X, Y, and Z, you perceive it as me wanting to spend time with you, not me trying to take something from you. Instructions, right? Avoidant will give the instruction as well. I feel overwhelmed because I always tell you Wednesdays are my decompression day. I don't mind spending time with you and going on a date with you, but can we do it Friday? See, instructions and communication that's a little bit more clear, easier said than done, but that type of communication to that extent can really help these types of behaviors, okay? The next one is mismatched emotional needs. And this is all relationships and it's tricky, but what happens is avoidance, they see this as a flaw. And what usually can happen is both of you guys need to match that emotional need more similar to one another. So avoidants are very detached. And maybe you're really pursuing and you really want this relationship and you want it to work and you love them and you want to show all those feelings. If you can decrease that a little bit externally to make it more palatable temporarily, they can show up a little bit more with their emotions and now it's a little bit more matched. And this is even more difficult if an avoidant is very, very dismissive avoidant, let's just say, and we have a very, very anxious preoccupied because you guys are very different. And the mismatch needs, it's a lot harder because even if the avoidant is trying their very best and you're trying your very best, that mismatched emotional need can still be prominent. And so sometimes avoidants break up for that reason, but often they regret it because they realize that's not, maybe they could have tried harder, maybe you could have tried harder, and they broke up for an emotional reason, right? Some avoidants, most of them, need some sort of steady and calm communication, and others, fearful avoidants, for example, might need some of your intensity, which is why sometimes fearful avoidants like anxious, preoccupied individuals, because sometimes you both can have that intensity, which fearful avoidants, some of them believe that means love. And so it depends on your partner. But in general, understanding how your partner perceives communication and love and how you perceive it and trying to meet in the middle about that can really help with this one, okay? And the last one is that the relationship in of itself actually felt draining instead of supportive. And you both might feel like this. Usually you both feel like this. It feels that the avoidant individual is feeling there's a lot of emotions going on. They're not really sure how to make you happy. They feel very confused. They feel very burned out. They really want to give you what you want, but they always feel like they're messing up. And then you feel like you're talking to a brick wall. You feel like you're screaming into the void and there's absolutely no chance that they can hear you. And so you might even feel a little bit disinterested in connecting because you feel like I don't feel supported, I don't feel loved, and they feel like I feel criticized, I feel suffocated. And so what can you do with this? Obviously, I think couples therapy is a great way to, resolve some of these issues, but even without that intervention, sometimes what can happen is taking a moment to recognize the positives that you do have and communicating it out loud to one another and taking a break off some of the more common disagreements for now. Let's say one of the main issues that you guys have is intimacy in the bedroom. One person wants intimacy, the other person thinks, it's too much pressure, I don't want to, right? At least they don't want it right now, okay? So that's the issue. Really common, anxious, preoccupied, they want some intimacy. Avoidant is saying, no, you're pressuring me, I feel like a failure, I don't want to do it, okay? Different perspectives. And then they feel like every time you ask, it becomes draining because now it's another, point on their failure system and put it all over the place that they failed again and they're making you feel unloved and then you're feeling drained and emotionally disinterested to some extent because you feel continuously rejected. But what can help is to put that topic on the back burner for now. Both of you guys agree this topic isn't going anywhere. Maybe we can talk about another time. Let's focus on happy things. Let's go on vacation together. Let's, I don't know, go outside to the fire pit and cook some food together. Something along that line to which both of you guys can remember the happy times, but that doesn't mean you avoid these issues. You come back to it when you guys as a relationship is stronger and you trust each other more, okay? So let's go ahead and summarize. Some of the reasons why avoidants break up with you, whether they're permanent or not, it's up to you in the relationship to decide. And I have videos on if the breakup is permanent, so you guys can look at that. But they repeatedly say something that they felt was important to them, and you kind of took it as not caring. They feel emotionally overwhelmed. You feel emotionally overwhelmed. There's a communication breakdown. They feel criticized. The emotions might be mismatched, and you both feel like the relationship is draining instead of supportive. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.